1,200 people. Mr. Brainard, thank you very much for being here on Reality Check.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we can hear from you. We've read in the papers that right now you're in spring break. There is a possibility that there may be a strike as soon as March 18th. Will there be a strike March 18th if there's no contract?
Right now, we're really hoping, our goal here is fair contracts. Our goal is not to go on strike. We are preparing to strike so that we are ready if we need to go out, but we are hoping to resolve this through negotiations over the next few weeks. We have set a strike vote date for March 27th. I will just also clarify that we did have a strike authorization vote already in which 91% of our members voted yes on strike authorization. So we are, we do have a broad support for moving forward and calling for a strike vote if necessary.
Now, so right now the strike vote date will be March 27th, which means if the old guy in me is correct, there could not be a strike before that March 27th
That's
date.
correct, yes.
Okay, so let me ask, if you take that strike vote on March 27th and it's a yes, how soon could you go out?
That still needs to be determined. I mean, I think it could be as soon as the next day, or it could be a few days later. We would announce that at the time.
Okay.
But it would be shortly after that.
Let me ask, right now your union has been without a new contract for almost 3 years now.
Yes.
The old contract expired when? I know you're working under the old deal, and what's the sticking points in your mind from the union standpoint?
So yes, our contract expired August 31st of 2016. We've been negotiating for over 3 years, and so right now there's a few really important issues on the table. One is that we're fighting to keep our workloads really in line with area community colleges. We already teach more students every semester than almost any other community college in Pennsylvania, and right now the college administration is trying to force us to teach even more. They want full-time faculty to teach an extra class, and we know that reasonable workloads, a reasonable student load is really key to student success. We're also really fighting for the college to invest in librarians, in counselors, in advisors, in faculty in our learning labs that really give students the support to be able to graduate and move into their careers. We want a diverse faculty that reflects our student body. Over 75% of our students are students of color, and only about 25% of our full-time teaching body is our faculty of color. And so we want proposals and contracts that will recruit and retain faculty of color who we know play a critical role in the success of our students.
But on those faculty of color, is the fault the college, or could some of that fault be past leaders of the union? Because a lot of times, first hired, last fired, seniority kind of issues. So should some of that also fall kind of on the backs of past union leaders who may have said, you know what, we like our contracts just the way they are. We don't want that kind of diversity because it might impact my job. I'm not saying that that's the case at CCP, but could some of that have been a reason that there was not a diverse faculty?
Well, I'll say that we currently have a proposal on the table for a diversity fellowship, that would try to create a pathway for faculty from underrepresented groups to move into full-time faculty positions. Our union does have a history of fighting for, decent benefits and decent working conditions for all of our faculty, which we think would be critical for attracting a wide range of faculty. I think that there's always more that organizations can do to become, truly anti-racist, and I support our union in, really hearing from our members or anyone in the community or our students about how we can better do that. But I think that our union is taking a stance that will, provide for contracts that I think will attract faculty of color moving forward, and that gutting our wages and benefits and increasing our workload is not a way to do that.
Now let me get your reaction to what I imagine the CCP might say. Is they say, your union says, you know what, we have all these students that we're teaching. They say, and I'm just reading, the average class size is 33 according to the school. Class caps range from 20 to 36, and few reach 36. And another reason that you might have the largest workload in the state is that you have over 28,000 students, and we're the largest city in the state. So you see what I mean? Like, you would have more than, say, Pittsburgh.
Oh, I'm not speaking to the size of the institution.
Okay.
I'm simply talking about like the number of students who a full-time faculty member is seeing every semester, and like how many papers is that person grading over the course of the semester. We don't think that that's equitable or fair to Philadelphians to say your community college, your faculty member has to have a much higher student load than at Bucks or Monco.
But isn't it reasonable to expect that you would have a higher load because there's more people than in Bucks and Monco?
Well, there's also more faculty. I mean, I don't think that just because we have a bigger institution means that our class sizes need to be larger or that our workload should be larger. I mean, the more students you have, you can hire more faculty. I mean, I don't think there's any real equivalency there. I do think that, you know, having small class sizes is really important to not just our faculty, but to our students. We have a proposal to reduce class sizes in our writing intensive courses because we know that you can't teach a writing intensive course with 36 students in the class. That's, you know, fairly standard.
So the university says the average class size is 23. You say it's much higher. What would that be?
I don't know how they're calculating their class size. We have a class size cap at 36. Okay. If they feel, you know, that that's not what's happening, then we encourage them to come back to the table and propose reducing our class size.
But so if the class size is capped at 36, you're saying that 36 is kind of the normal that a full-time faculty member
I'm sure that there are
CCP.
classes that don't fill to 36, but I know plenty of faculty members who teach, you know, 4 sections of writing intensive courses that are capped at 36 every semester, and that's a real burden.
We're speaking to Junior Brainard. He's the co-president of the Faculty Union at Community College of Philadelphia. Community College of Philadelphia and the union are in negotiations to try to reach a contract settlement. They have been working without a contract for 3 years now. We do have some good news that has come out of this interview. There had been reports that a strike could happen as soon as March 18th. But Junior Brainard just told us here on Word Radio that they have their strike vote set for March 27th. So nothing would happen before March 27th. Go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in that we are the Faculty and Staff Federation. I did want to mention that we also represent about 200 support staff who work at CCP. That's everyone from housekeepers to folks who work at the financial aid and registration counter up to IT folks. And you know, I think that I just didn't want them to get lost in the conversation, and that, you know, one of the other major issues on the table is that we need an overall economic package that moves people forward. We have full-time employees who've been working at CCP for over 20 years who still qualify for food stamps. You know, that's shameful. That's not acceptable.
So what's the average wage for someone in your union per hour, and what do you want to see it go up to in this new contract? Is there an average? Like $12 an hour, 15, or? So
I think it's a little bit difficult to provide an average because we're talking about 3 different bargaining units that have 3 very different pay scales. Okay. But one of the things that, you know, that is really important to us is that we raise the wages in our staff unit to the point where people don't have to work 2 and 3 jobs to survive.
And the staff unit would be the custodial people, those kinds of things.
Yes,
okay. So what's the average wage for them per hour?
You know, I don't know the average off the top of my head, but I know that we have people who make under $15 an hour. We have people making $13 an hour, and that, you know, I know the college has said they've offered to raise the minimum up to $15 an hour. The problem with that is they haven't actually offered to raise up everyone's wages in a logical way that follows from that, and so it would really still leave many of our workers without enough and without a really meaningful raise.
So what are you asking for as far as a raise as the union in negotiation?
Well, wages, I think, you know, really also depend on healthcare. So our bottom line is that we want an overall economic package in which we move forward. We do not want to get poorer every year. And so that's for us something that's important, you know, in addition to lifting up the minimum. We want people to actually be valued and, you know, in their salary for the years that they've put in at CCP, and not simply, you know, have the raise, you know, offered with one hand and taken away with the other, through, givebacks in healthcare.
Now, Dr. Generals, Dr. Donald Generals, who's the president of CCP, is quoted in a newspaper article, Junior, as saying that the college has delayed imposition of a contract because it's been working with a mediator and was optimistic progress would occur. They said that they have given you the so-called last best offer, right?
Right.
If they impose that last best offer, how bad will it be? And would you instantly walk out then? Like, say they imposed it on the 19th or the 20th and said, this is it. We're done.
Yeah.
This is the last best offer. Would you say we're gone?
So our position is that if they impose that, it would not be legal. We are not currently on strike and we're not at impasse. But I do think that imposing the contract would, force us to, really take action and consider a strike possibly sooner than, the timeline that we laid out. For us, I think really the important issue is around thinking about what strategy is going to get us contracts that benefit our current and future students and the current faculty and staff who work here at CCP. So regardless of whatever tactic is tried to force or not force us to accept a contract, we're trying to win contracts that we think will provide the kind of community college that Philadelphians deserve, the kind of curriculum and student support and all of the things that students need in order to graduate and move into their careers. We want to make sure that those are built into our contract.
So what's your vision as the president, co-president of the union, that if you get a brand new contract would be? Like, what has to be in that new, Dr. Generals is probably listening, right?
Right.
What needs to be in that final contract before you say, you know what, we'll sign on the dotted line? Because any negotiation knows that each side gives up something. No one's completely happy with the contract. So what would have to be in it, in your mind, from a minimum, for you to even go back to your members and say, you know what, this might be the best we get. Let me go to my members. What would that contract be?
I think I've mentioned this before, but we need a contract that moves us forward, right? We want salaries that keep up with the rising healthcare costs and lift our lowest paid workers out of poverty. We also know that we need contracts that really protect the working conditions that are the learning conditions of our students. So simply increasing the student load of full-time faculty is not something that we're going to accept. We also want, contracts that provide some form of support for our students that is meeting a current need. We really have many students coming out of the school district of Philadelphia and other places where they haven't necessarily had the experiences that prepare them to be successful in college, and so we really want to make sure that we have contracts that build in those kinds of supports.
Final question to you, Junior, and I do appreciate the time that you've given us here on Reality Check. And come back anytime. We're leading up to March 27th and beyond, and we hope that for both sides, Dr. General's listening and you eventually reach a contract and nobody has to go out on strike. But if you do go out on strike, that's 1,200 of you. By your union going out, does that effectively shut the campus down? Because I know as a union guy, other unions, if they see one person go out, they're not crossing the picket lines. Are you concerned that some of your other fellow unions may cross the picket line because they're going to say, you know what, I need a check? So I do agree with my teacher friends, but I'm not going to lose my check over a strike. Have you gotten that kind of, do you think that if you go out, you'll shut the campus down? And have you gotten that solidarity from other unions that say they will not cross the picket line if you go out?
If we go out, we will definitely shut the college down, and we have received, support from many other unions, including TAUP, which is the Temple Union, as well as the PFT, which represents, teachers in the K-12 district, but, some of them also are part-time faculty at CCP. If you look back to our strike in 2007, the college was shut down. Classes will not be held, and staff are out on the picket line as well.
Are you ready for it? I mean, I know you don't want to as a president, as a co-president. I know it's the last thing you want to do. But from sensing from your members and sensing from yourself, if you have to go out, are you ready? Are you at a point where you're saying, listen, we've reached a breaking point? I know that I've heard that, like, the mayor's office has been involved trying to bring both sides together.
Right.
Obviously, it hasn't worked. You know, are you ready? Are you like, you know what, at some point, we either got to fish or cut bait, as my dad used to say.
Right. I mean, I think we're obviously preparing our membership to go on strike, and constantly having conversations with folks about where we are in negotiations and what's on the table. I believe that, you know, if it comes to needing to take a strike vote, needing to go out, our membership will be ready. But obviously, we hope to be able to settle this through negotiations. Our goal, again, is fair contracts, not a strike. But, you know, we're definitely preparing for that if we need it. And you know, I think because of the severity of the proposals that are currently on the table, you know, many of our members have been, you know, more involved and are, I think, ready to take a stand for the kind of college that we want in the future.
I appreciate the time that you've given us.
Thanks
again.
so
That's
much.
Junior Brainard. He's the co-president of the Faculty Union. When we come back here on Reality Check, we will hear from the college president himself, President Dr. Donald Generals, to get his side of the story about this about this contract negotiation and where it stands. You're listening to Reality Check here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM.
News you can use.
Exclusively on Wake Up with Word.
Hosted by the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith. Weekdays, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m.
On Word Radio, wordradio.com, and on the Word Radio app.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to